Hey friends, welcome to Season 8 of the Let's Get Real podcast. I'm Justin.
And I'm Trisha.
Every week, we have honest conversations about life, love, and leadership without the pressure to pretend.
Whether you're in a great season or a messy one, this space is for grace and truth and real connection.
And this season, we're diving into some powerful conversations with each other, with friends, and with leaders who are making a difference by leading from a place of authenticity.
So whether you're listening in the car, out on a walk, maybe just hiding in your pantry for a little peace and quiet, this podcast is for you.
Let's dive into Season 7 and get real.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Let's Get Real podcast with Justin and Trisha Davis. If you are listening, we're so grateful that you're here. If you're listening online, I just said listening, didn't really preface where you're listening from. Or if you're watching on our YouTube channel.
We're in a different spot again.
We are. We're just traveling. And we have a special guest with us today, our son Isaiah Davis. And we're going to get to him in just a bit. But if you have been around the Let's Get Real podcast, Justin and I have been taking some time to talk about our book, One Choice Away from Change, and the different themes that we talk about throughout the book of choices that we can make to just make that pivot of change. And so we wanted to share with you a comment, or I guess it was a review that was left.
Yeah, so we've shared some 1-star reviews in the past of our book, Beyond Ordinary.
Yes.
Which those are comical if you want to go on Amazon and find those. But someone recently left a review of One Choice Away from Change, and it just captured my heart. And so I wanted to share it with you guys to kind of set up where we're going to talk about today. This person says, I hope my review will encourage you to buy this book. I have read a lot of books, and I think this book is going to have the biggest long-term impact on my future choices of any book outside of the Bible. I saw this couple in an interview on Focus on the Family and was very impressed with them, so I ordered their book. He says he's jealous because he paid a lot more than it's on sale for right now. But the book says you're not as stuck as you might think, and the book has helped me process through realizing that this is true. You know, one of the things that I said to Trish is when I came across that review is that person thinks a lot higher of the book than I think I do. I would say, Jesus Calling would probably be more influential. I would say My Utmost for His Highest. I would say...
that dates you.
Yes.
A lot of people may not know that one.
And what's the Rick Warren book?
Purpose-Driven Life.
Purpose-Driven Life, the greatest book of all time except for the Bible. But one of the things that really is at the heart of what Trish and I want to talk about today is this really isn't about book sales, it's about life change. Mm-hmm. And that's really the heart of why we want to share this message with you. And so that brings us really to bringing in our son Isaiah, who's home for spring break. And so we thought, hey, let's have him on the podcast. But it really goes back to a pivotal moment in your life where you had a number of choices in front of you, but you had to kind of step out and make some choices that were not easy, but it really has kind of set the new trajectory of your life. So take us back to kind of high school and college and getting ready to graduate from college here in a few weeks, but take us back to kind of some of the choices that you were faced with, 5 years ago.
Yeah. So it kind of all began during COVID where, I've been playing basketball since I was, 5, 6 years old. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until COVID that my recruitment began, and it added this layer of basketball that I'd never expected. I always dreamed about, but recruitment started coming and coaches started texting, and it was very fun but also crazy experience. We took over 20 visits together across the nation. And
we, as in Justin and Isaiah?
Yeah.
Oh. Isaiah and I put 63,000 miles, I think, on the car in
unreal.
A year.
Yeah. And so, by my end of my junior year, for those that aren't from Indiana, it's hard to explain the level of talent here, the level of excellence. There's thousands of people at your games, and there's random guys on podcasts talking about you, and you're like, I'm a junior in high school, what's going on right now? And
it's like you're already almost like on ESPN, the way that you're being vetted just as a high school student.
Every decision is watched and critiqued and praised, and by the end of my junior summer going into my senior year, decided I'm just going to commit to the school I want to commit to, and so ended up committed to Huntington University for Coach Corey Alford. And that whole process, while insane and brought a lot of hardships, it was pretty awesome. I mean, I look back on it very fondly, just getting to travel with you guys. And
can we just do a little side note about who Corey is and who his father is in Dad's life, and how it almost changed Dad's life?
If you're not from Indiana, just bear with us for a moment while we travel down a really fun road.
Yeah, so Coach Corey Alford is probably without a doubt the best coach I've gotten a chance to play for, but his father is an Indiana legend. He is one of, if not the best player to play at Indiana University. We actually got to practice there my freshman year, and I jokingly said to Coach Corey, I said, "So where's your dad's statue?" And he was like, "Upstairs to the left." And so that's the level of excellence that this family has. And
played in the 1984 Olympics with Michael Jordan. Steve Alford was a freshman at IU in 1984.
So you get recruited by Corey, and you guys, it was just kind of like, I think our whole family was praying that if Corey's dad showed up to one of Isaiah's games,
which he did,
that Justin would not lose his mind. And so it was an exciting time for all of our family. But you get to college, and, in the sports world, but specifically basketball, it's kind of like you're on, it's set. You go to college early. It starts like the day after you graduate from high school, and you're all in. So kind of take us through freshman year, the expectations you had, and then where you found yourself by the end of freshman year.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, if you've ever had any experience with college athletics, it's really tough. And this was before NIL, so you're doing it. I mean, full ride scholarship, obviously, but also just with no pay. So this is it's very hard. And you come in, like you said, after graduation. I think it was a couple of days after graduation, I move up for summer training, and very early on, I realized I was not the best player on the court, which was very hard for me to wrestle with. But I was also coming off injuries. My knee was not healthy. And so I spent the whole summer rehabbing and working with a trainer there. And I finally had, the focus from coaches and trainers on the staff to get my body healthy. So I come in with this expectation. I had a rough fall, but was slowly finding myself in the game. And first game of the season, I just shattered my foot. And it was obviously really hard, and injuries happen. And I did not realize over the course of the next 3 months what was going to take place from a mental standpoint, physical standpoint, spiritual standpoint. And you come in with the expectation of you finally made it. You're on a full ride. You're playing for, these Indiana legends, and you find yourself buried at the end of the bench. And my recruiting class, all of my friends are at, Big Ten schools, and they're on national television, and I'm staying up, late watching their highlights and wondering, what am I doing? And I found myself just really lost without the game. I was constantly trying to prove myself. And there was one day in particular, I just felt so broken in all areas of my life. And Coach Corey pulled me into the office, and he was like, "There's nothing in you that needs to be fixed." He's like, "We recruited you here." And for some reason, I could never get over that hump of belief that he had in me. And I still love him to this day. And I know he still believes in me, but it was just one of those seasons where I was so in the dark and could not find no light out of the tunnel. And I finished the season, and it was just really bad. And there was people like Pastor Mark Vincenti, who was our campus pastor on campus, who helped me through that season of life, who was guiding me, meeting with me, and just speaking life into me. But yeah, I found myself just in a really low place. I found that my identity was really wrapped up in basketball. And when I was not playing, I didn't know who I was. And so just a lot of turmoil, a lot of questions of who I am and what to do next.
And I think as a parent and as somebody who wanted that for you, right? There was a part of it that was your dream. There was a part of it that was my dream for you. I was trying to fix it. So we hired a strength coach, we hired a mental coach, which I never even knew those existed. I would send him books. I would, get up and text him scripture. I would text him, memes and, quotes, and trying to, rather than help you find healing, unknowingly, there was this part of me that was like, well, just like almost like take 2 of these and you'll be better in the morning, or just go have a good practice. Or, I was getting on Huddle and watching your practices and calling him after practice, trying to just kind of walk him through this. And I think, as a parent, if you have kids, there's a part of you that you don't know when the decisions that your kids are making are for them or they're to try to please you. And so talk a little bit about just that process of you trying to detangle, not wanting to disappoint us, feeling like you could step into a decision or a choice that was really more about what God wanted you to do rather than maybe what, mom wanted you to do basketball wise.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the man to my right here is a Hall of Fame basketball player. So
at a school of 800.
But still,
I never played basketball, just for the record.
And so I think from an early age, my oldest brother Micah played college basketball. He went to national championships, and I think there was just a level of expectation for me. For those who can't see on camera, I'm 6'8", and the tall guy. Still this day, I get asked, "Do you still play basketball?" And I think growing up, the standard was just, I'm going to be the best and I'll do anything it takes to get there. And, like you said, there's so many hours and hard work. And I think that was the worst part of it all, is you get to this place where you spend 15 years of your life training for a moment and it's just gone. And you feel like you're letting everyone down. You go home for Christmas, you see the extended family. It's like, so are you playing? You're like, nope. And it's like, you can't really explain why. And so I think that was so much of it. And it wasn't anyone's fault. I had such a support team around me. I had such an amazing coaching staff around me. And it was truly, I had to look myself in the mirror and I was like, there's something deeper here than just, I'm hurt playing basketball. I think there was something that my heart is being called to something different. And it was insanely terrifying because I've spent so much of my life in this process, and, I'm getting the text every day and I'm reading these books and I'm like, man, this book's so good. I'm gonna go lock in for practice. And then my knee is the size of a softball. And you're like, how am I gonna get through today? And I think over time, those feelings, they just spiral out of control, and it's nothing you can really do about it besides just cut off the source.
And we talk about those different themes that, your story unfolded through this kind of almost legacy that you were trying to fulfill basketball. And so if you could, kind of quantify some of the emotions or thought processes, we talk about in the book how words spoken over us give us messages, and they could be good messages, they could be unhealthy messages, but how we receive them, it becomes like an imprint on our heart, and it becomes a belief system of what we think or who we think we should become. And so when we're disappointing people, there's fear of what people will think. Did you fight with any other emotions, such as like shame, or like, and maybe that's not even close, but when you think of like the predominant feelings you were, wrestling with in the midst of that moment, what comes to mind?
Through that whole season, I think from early or later high school to my freshman year, I think I had spurts of, really strong anxiety. And I think by the time I got to my freshman year of college, I could say I was very depressed. And I think a lot of that stemmed from letting others down. I think waking up each day, just you can't sleep, can't eat. I think I lost, by the end of the season, 25 pounds just from not being able to eat. And, even looking in the mirror of just like, I'm not who I'm supposed to be. And I think over time, it got to a point where it was unbearable. And I didn't know really where to go from there. But on the flip end of that, like I mentioned earlier, I had guys like Pastor Mark on campus who was like, hey, come to my office every Wednesday. And it was me and 3 guys. And it was the first time outside of people in my family that was showing me something bigger than basketball for the rest of my life. And he was instilling things in me. He was saying things to me of, you have gifts. And it wasn't your jump shot. It was your leadership. And it was the way you're talking around others and the way you're uplifting people. And it's different when you hear that on a basketball court, but when you hear that in life, it was something that really sparked a drive in me to really think, what is it that I want to not only be remembered for, but do the rest of my life? Do I really want to keep going down this path to prove to others that I am a good basketball player and I can fight through the pain? Or is it, I really want to do something with my life that's bigger than just this leather ball? And as much and as beautiful as it is, as much as the game has given me, I think there's something bigger that I'm being called to here. So,
and for context, like, you know, you had COVID, which was, you know, a shared trauma experience across, you know, the world that you were navigating. So you're trying to navigate that as a, you know, 16-year-old kid. Then we closed the church your senior year of high school. You know, we have a lot of trauma in Mom and I's story of, you know, finding out our dads aren't our dads. So you're like, you know, in the middle of that. We have, you know, stuff going on with, you know, a few of your siblings. Like, there's just a lot going on. And then you get to this place at the end of your freshman year where I think you called Mom and, like, he didn't call me, called Trish and just said, I don't think I want to play basketball anymore. Like, was that a relief after you got those words out, or was it terrifying?
So I came home from the summer, and I'm trying to summarize as much as I can. There was just so much that happened that I'm leaving out. But like you said, it was almost like every area of my life was downhill. Of like, home life was bad, my living situation at school was bad, I'm physically hurt, I'm mentally spiraling. And so then I come home, and I honestly didn't have the thought in my mind of leaving or quitting. And we were sitting on the back porch one day, and we had a mission trip to Mexico as a team later that week. And I don't think I've ever even told you guys this, but I'm sitting on the back porch, and I'm like, all right, Lord, I don't know what I'm going to do, but the only reason I would even bring up the conversation is if she asked me. And about 5 minutes later, Mom comes back to the porch, and she goes, so what do you want to do? And that's when I said, I don't know if I want to play basketball anymore. And so she goes, well, you know, just go on the trip and pray about it and think about it when you come back. And so about 20 minutes into the trip, me as a team, and I'm like, Lord, can you just give me a sign on, you know, what I need to do? And like, literally in that moment, one of our assistant coaches stands up and goes, hey guys, well, you know, I've accepted another coaching position, another school. And it wasn't even that, him leaving, it was just like, okay, that's a sign. I think there's something here that's being spoken into. And at the end, just kept praying about it by the week, and sat down with Coach Corey at the end of the week and just said, you know, I think I'm being called to something bigger than basketball here. And we got to do mission work that entire week, and I just realized, like, this is something that I want to do the rest of my life, and I want to focus on that. And he was so great and understanding, but it was probably the hardest conversation from all perspectives with you guys, with coaches. So many tears cried that I can't explain, but I think also so many unknowns ahead. You know, your whole life working this moment, boom, it's gone. And you don't know what you're going to do or how you're going to do it or where you're going to be in a month. And I got to get a job now. It's like, what is my life's about to change? And
I did too, since we had to start paying for his college.
Yeah. So
well, some of the things I want to like pause for someone who's listening or watching is to catch some of the choices that you made. And the first choice started with you. And it was the choice to confess that you were in the messy middle. Like you didn't know, you didn't have a plan, and that was hard. And so you made that choice of confession. And I think oftentimes that's where, especially for mental health, we've talked about our mental health struggles on the podcast before. And, you know, you mentioned, I mean, I remember coming up to college one day because we were both, we knew you had hit like a dark place. But it's like, that's why we're here for each other, right? Like we can't help, well, how do you say it? We can only be known.
Only be loved to the extent that we're known.
And so, you know, that was the first choice for you, was to be honest where you were at. And then the second choice was to choose to trust God in a process that you didn't even know that was happening. And I'm sure that there's somebody listening, whether they're in their young 20s like you or they're in their 50s like us, who is in the middle of that choice. And maybe for them it's a really strained, messy marriage, or it's a job change, it's infertility. Like there's so many facets of life, and especially even culturally where we are, you know, as a world, even not just even our country. What would you encourage someone who, like, they're not there yet, like they feel like how you felt before you actually made the decision to share, I can't do this anymore. What was it for you? Like you kind of had a choice that I'm either going to go down a dark path of hopelessness, or I'm going to choose hope, and I'm going to be brave in this choice. What would you say to someone who's like, I don't even know if I can do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that a professor has echoed to me that has really stuck with me, he said, Jesus was never in a hurry and he was never late. And I think about all the times where Jesus shows up to these scenes, and whether it's, you know, Jairus' daughter or Lazarus, and they're like, where were you?
Yeah.
You know, I just went through this whole season. I just went through this year of my life that I've been waiting for forever, and you were nowhere to be found, and where were you? And I think it doesn't excuse the pain. The pain's still there, but there is a new life out of it. And I think there is a hope to look forward to, that he is never late. And I look back on that season of my life and I still go, man, why did I get injured twice in the span of 2 months and get my life turned upside down and lose everything, lose, you know, everything I aspired to do and dream of, and it's just gone. And I'm like, there was hope at the end of it, you know? And I think there were so many days where I just couldn't see that, where even when I couldn't see it, he was working and he was building. And it doesn't take away the loss, but it does inspire me to know that there was a new life, a new joy on the other side of it.
So good. You know, I think there's this reality that you could have stayed and finished out, you know, your college career at Huntington and probably been very successful, but you wouldn't have been who you fully were created to be. And I think that's a choice that a lot of us make. Sometimes we settle for what is because we're too afraid to choose what we don't know what could be. Talk about, you know, Trish came up to me because Isaiah called her. Remember, I'm still not in the loop here, right? So Isaiah calls her from Tijuana and or wherever you were. Baja, yeah. And he's like, Coach Strom just resigned. And so Trish hangs up the phone. She comes over to my desk. She goes, we need to have a conversation. She's like, I want you to hear me out before you say anything. And so, you know, she tells me that, you know, you're really not wanting to play basketball anymore and not wanting to go back to Huntington. And so, you know, I had to wrestle with, am I going to try to impose what I think is best, or am I going to trust that God is leading you and guiding you? And even if I don't think it's best, he's still God at the end of it. So if we have kids that make great decisions, we have kids that make really poor decisions, it doesn't change the faithfulness of God and the providence of God. But talk through just kind of the transformation or the maturity of your faith that you've seen God show up in ways that maybe you didn't expect over the last 3 years as you've gone back to Nashville. I mean, that's a tough choice, going to from Huntington, Indiana to Nashville, Tennessee,
attending
Lipscomb University.
Yeah. So I get to Lipscomb and didn't know anyone and really anything. I kind of just decided. I went there on a basketball visit during COVID, and that was it. That's all I knew about the place, and kind of on a whim, just wanted to go there. And when I say I've never had more formative people in my life, conversations, the things I've learned, I couldn't imagine my life now not being there. And I study theology at Lipscomb, and so a lot of my classes are deep theological discussion on why things are the way they are, and the hard truths behind that, the hard questions, the unanswered things. And I came into the season not really knowing who I was or what I was going to do, and I was really shown a new identity in Christ of people just showing like, hey, you are more. Kind of the things that Pastor Mark at Huntington had started to instill in me, these things were starting to get really unfolded, where I just took I don't have any desire to preach, but one of my professors was like, you're going to preach. And he's like, comes up to me, he's like, you're going to preach one day. And I'm like, I don't know, but like, speaking things into me that I don't even believe in myself. And it's been so incredible just to learn. And I will walk around on campus, and I'm like, I just can't believe 3 years ago my hope and desire was to be a professional basketball player, and now I'm walking around on this campus as a student who's just learning about the Bible. And it's like been crazy, and I can't even comprehend it still. It's just been crazy to think about.
So cool. I think so many of us get so overwhelmed with the outcome and not knowing the outcome of a choice. And it's like, if you would have gone to Nashville, gone to Lipscomb, and it was a disaster, okay, well, choose something else. Like you're not bound by that one thing, but you can take one step, one choice. You can, in order to have something different, you have to do something differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great example of that.
The biggest takeaway for me in this conversation, I mean, obviously as your mom, I have lots of deep feelings and thoughts that I could share, but I think for the person listening, it's like how many of us have had this life like set out for us, and may not be basketball, but just expectations of maybe where we lived, where we grew up, our birth order. I mean, there's so many trappings of even our faith. There's some people who may have the opposite story. People ask us all the time, did you pray for your kids to go in ministry? We're like, no, run for the hills. Like that was, and so, but what I love about your story is you found the identity you were always meant to have, and it isn't what you do, it's who you already are. And it's been such a delight to see you live out of that almost. And it's not basketball's fault by any stretch, but I think that ended up becoming a barrier of growth for you. And so it's just been so exciting to see you bloom in this season. And now you're graduating in a couple of weeks. A lot of like question marks that are like up in the air. As we close this conversation, what's different about this next chapter compared to when you were coming out of basketball? Because now life is going to change again.
Yeah.
What is different in you that has made you feel, I don't know, I don't even know how I would even quantify
Empowered?
that. Yeah. Or maybe just excited that kind of the same situation of change, but yet you're coming at it from a completely different, as a completely different person.
Yeah. I think to echo all of it, it's like you're one choice away from change. And with that, a lot more changes are going to come with you. And I think when I quit basketball, that big change changed my whole world. And it was crucial for me to recognize it's the same God as yesterday, today, and forever. In who I was, where I was at 3 years ago as a freshman in college with the desire to play professional basketball, that God is the same God as He is right now as I graduate and enter the same season of unknowns. And so I carry this peace with me that the Spirit is going to guide me and lead me and give me wisdom. And I think that being able to lean on that discernment gives me confidence to know, okay, I don't know where I'm going to be a year from now because I don't even know where I'm going to be tomorrow, really. But I know that my plans 3 years ago were exactly different. I know my plans 3 years from now are going to be insanely different, but I know God is never going to be different. And I think that is the thing that inspires me the most, to say, Lord, let your will be done, not mine, and let me be a servant through this season. Let me just take somebody out for a meal in this season. Let me help out my friend move. Help me give up whatever it is I need to give up in this season right now, because that is what's going to lead me towards where I'm called to be. And so I think that's the biggest thing.
That's good.
So good. Last thing, we could give every guest on the podcast just an opportunity to share a little bit about where they can find you on social media, maybe some of the artistic work that you do. So you want to share a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah, so when I got to Nashville, I ended up moving in with a musician, stereotype.
Shocker.
And through that, I had a little Target camera that I followed around with. Well, over the next 2 or 3 years, it became a really big business I did not expect to have, and it's been a huge blessing. So I work with a lot of artists, but also a lot of portrait work. I work with churches and nonprofits in Nashville as well. So I'm a photographer and videographer, and so I direct videos and client work and studio work, whatever it is. I'm kind of all over the place, and so my Instagram is Zay Films with a Z. I tried to change it, couldn't. So it's with a Z at the end. So bear with me. But yeah, you can find me on there for all of my work.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks so much, buddy, for being on this. And what I love about this is, Dad and I, our whole family talks about a lot of hard things. But gosh, God's kindness in where our family is today, it's like we will never take that for granted. And so we're so proud of you and excited to see what God has you in this next season, and congratulations to getting your college degree. And for those of you listening, we pray that you leave this conversation just inspired that this isn't just a Davis family story. This is God's story that He has for you. And so we want to encourage you, what is that next prayer? Just sit with God and just ask Him, Lord, have your way. And what I love about God is the Holy Spirit says that He will always advocate for us, and the Holy Spirit will go before the throne of God even when you have no words. And that's what we're trusting for you today. So thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for joining us for another honest conversation. We hope that something in today's episode encouraged you, maybe even challenged you.
Our heart is to help you live with more connection, more purpose, and really more authenticity in every aspect of your life.
If this episode meant something to you, would you do us a favor? Would you leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast? It helps more people find these conversations.
Or better yet, share it with a friend. Shoot somebody a text message today. Let them know what you're listening to, because you never know how God might use that to encourage somebody else.
We'll see you next time right here on the Let's Get Real podcast.